You know, we've been studying about writings of Jude and Peter, right? Two men who knew each other, and yet two men who were very different. One was a farmer, if we learn, perhaps that's true, and one was a fisherman. It's funny, Jesus didn't go to the university to get his disciples. He didn't go to the business world to get his disciples. He didn't go to the political realm to get his disciples. He didn't go to the military to get his disciples. He took ordinary people just like us and worked with them, correct? Now, there's come a time, as I look at the stories, there's come a time in the history of Christianity as it progresses through the first century when these two great men who have served God and they've seen people die. You know, they've seen people die. They've seen their good friends die. Peter has seen his partner in business, James of Zebedee, be put to death. They've seen this. So it's been a serious time. This is not a foolish thing. This is a tremendous world-changing thing that's happened. But now they're looking ahead and they're seeing what might happen because, not because the Roman Empire is going to destroy them, because it can't. The devil cannot destroy the church from the outside. You can kill Stephen, but it doesn't kill the church. Huh? But what they're worried about is the thing that will destroy the church, which is word. Trouble from the end coming because some people are teaching false things for personal gain or for power or some other thing. And so that's what he warns us about. And they're saying things like, what? You don't have to listen to anybody. They're speaking against the dignitaries. What else are they saying? Well, I know to be a Christian, right? But don't you think we can live a little bit more in this world? Sensuality, right? Sensuality. And he looked at all the different things that were being done. Well, I know that was the way it was in the beginning of the church, but don't you think we must progress and become more modern? You ever seen that today? More modern. Well, he was facing that problem. So almost everything that we can see in our cultures, these two men were worried about. That might come. And the tragedy is, there were people coming with great respect, with honor. We didn't touch what you read 3 John sometime, the third letter of John. There's a man in the church there, probably at Ephesus. His name is Diotrephes. When Christians come along who are sacrificing to preach the gospel, and they won't take money from the outsider, you know, they're not begging on the streets like some people do on the bus, you know, in the Philippines, to give us some money. You know that, don't you? All right. They're doing what? They're sacrificing, and they want to come, and the brethren, and this man Diotrephes won't let people help them. Number one, he won't help them himself. Number two, he won't let others help him. He'll kick them out of the church. And he's doing that kind of thing. Well, they're facing that, see? And they're facing these kind of problems within the church. And so Peter said, we must not let this destroy us. So you, brethren, look ahead. God is taking notice of all the things that's happening. He takes notice of immoral conduct. He takes the immoral conduct if it's sensual, like immorality, sexual immorality, or if it's greed, or if it's the terrible things we do in politics. He's taking notice of those things, and he is going to punish. No, he won't. Yes, he will, because look back and see, didn't he do it in the past? And he said, yes, he did in the past. Well, and he says it's going to end. It's going to end. You know, there used to be a people who believed that if you just preach the gospel in the whole world, it'll make Jesus come back again. I wish I believed that. I really wish I could believe that. If it were true, what would we be doing, Sam? We'd be preaching to everybody in the world thinking we can bring Jesus back, you know. But that would be a wonderful thing. But one thing is sure from what we studied tonight. What is it? He is coming back again, right? Now, how would you like to own some real estate in Hawaii? I don't want to be a real estate agent in Hawaii. Why? Because who knows, next year your property may move into the ocean. Right? Now, that's exactly the same as us. Do you want to place your hope upon this world? Because next year your property may move into the eternal fire along with you because of your conduct. So Brother Peter teaches us these things. He wants us to not have a destruction of the fellowship from within the church, and he don't want us to allow anybody to come in and to pervert the teachings of the there. The teachings will not change. There is no living voice for the living church, you all. You tell me of all the centuries that have gone since the first century when people rose up saying we're a new voice, a living voice for the living church, and they contradict and they pervert and they cause all kinds of shameful things done in the name of Christianity. The only way that you can be sure that you have pure water is to go where? To the fountain, to the fountain itself. And you have the fountain here, and Peter told us that. See, if we get nothing else out of these lessons, remember this. These are the authoritative things said by eyewitnesses. We cannot substitute somebody else for them. I don't care how much education they have. I don't care how much prestige they have. I don't care how well they speak. None of those things count. It must be back to these things that these people taught. I believe that with all my heart. So I really don't spend a great deal of time trying to realize what St. Augustine said or what Thomas Aquinas said. I don't. It's something you don't care. Yes, I care. I read them sometimes. But that's not the point. That's not where I get my knowledge. I know what's right here because my arithmetic is right here. And anything you're going to build up beyond that is going to be true always here. If we agree with that, we've had a successful class. Would you people be? It's a great class because we've got some people that are not very old and some people that are not terribly old. And some people All right. Do you have it? Where's the questions? Do you have something that I left out that you want to mention?
Yes. Do you believe that many people, not only what is written, but there are wisdoms that God provides? Because if we pray to God and ask that wisdom in His own will, that will be given. Like Solomon, he does not need material thing, but he needs wisdom. That's why Solomon is to be remembered.
Well, you know, who's the man?
Solomon.
No, but let me take care of this Solomon for a minute. I want to tell you. Somebody tell me how Solomon died. Did God say, good boy, come home? You look at his record. He wrote the Song of Solomon.
Yeah.
Oh, set me a seal upon thy heart, and a seal upon thy arm. For love is a song of death. Jealous is cruel and grave. Many waters cannot quench love. Oh, that's romantic. You memorize that, boys. Don't let the girl know you memorize it. It's really. He wrote that, and yet he had 300, 700, and 300 concubines. 1,000 wives, and he knows about marriage.
They are exceptions.
No. Wait. You haven't let me get done yet. You don't know. No, you're right. The brother's right, because see, he was quoting actually James, where James says, if anyone lacks wisdom, let him ask God, and God will give it. So he's correct there. But he used the wrong example, because I can't admire Solomon. No, I can't admire Solomon, because when he became an old man, it's like these old Americanos, and one little chiquititas taking him across the street. When he was old. You look at that. Am I right? He's an old man, and now when he's an old man, he forgets the God that has talked to him twice, the God that has exalted him, the God that made him the most powerful, the most wise man in the world, and he begins to worship with his wives, build them palaces to their gods, worship by burning his own offsprings in the fire to Moloch. And the Jewish people, as they give the record of him, they talk about that his heart was not right with God when he died. And maybe the lesson is, no matter how smart you are, how wise you are, you better not forget your God. But I'm tragedy. He's worse than his father because his father repented. So, isn't it strange? Now, he can't say, I didn't know, because how many proverbs did you collect? Yeah. How many songs did you write to God? You built the most wonderful temple that was ever built. And yet, when you're old, you're just an old man that's sensual in your conduct, led astray by the devil. Right and wrong. Right and wrong. Okay, where's my questions? Well, I love that. No, thank you, Tony. That's a good point. It is good. Look, you guys, you ought to, if you can, you ought to be Bible teachers. You know why? There is nothing more fun than telling an interesting story. Is there? And you realize that this Bible is filled with stories? And people know these stories. And if you start telling the story and you leave something out there, say, wait, you forgot so-and-so. We want to hear these stories over and over again because it's like a little truth. You know, you got the girl's got her diamond on and she looks this way and he loves me, he loves me, he loves me, he loves me. Every time she sees another facet of the diamond, he loves me, see? And that's the way they do these stories. You see it one way and they say, I see something I didn't see there before. And it's made to be told. Really, it's made to be told. And until Jesus becomes our hero and we start talking about him as our hero, we got people that can argue about everything in religion. They write books about every argument in religion, but you ask them to tell me the story of Jesus. Ask a preacher, tell me the story of Jesus. He said, what do you want? No, tell me the story. Just tell me about Jesus. Tell me the whole story. Well, what part do you want? No, tell me. Did you read it? Well, I can argue about the church. I don't want you to argue about the church. I can argue about the day. I don't want you to argue about the day. I want you to tell me about Jesus because I'm supposed to be like Jesus, right? I'm not putting those other things down. They're important. But the thing is, my point then was, this is a beautiful book to be told. And you will enrich your life by studying it. There is no educated person who can say they're educated unless they read this book. I challenge you. You can't even understand the English language unless you know this book. Because this book has influenced the English language. It's influenced the world, our imagery. The people in the end of the 19th century, they did great artwork. Art Deco. You people like art like that. And one of the things they always pictured was Salome, where she danced. What's this Salome? They show Salome with a platter with the head of John the Baptist on it. But if you're ignorant of the Bible, isn't that a pretty picture? You know how ignorant we are of the Bible? Even we who grow up among the Christian families. I grew up being carried to church by my papa. Literally, on his shoulders, he carried me for several miles to church. But when I was a young man, I found a very interesting poem. And the line in it said, all men do kill the thing they love. The coward does it with a kiss. The brave man with a sword. Whoa, that sounds exciting. That's a quote. I don't know what it means, but it's a quote. Doesn't that sound? All men do kill the thing they love. The coward, the brave man with the sword, the coward with a kiss. I didn't know what he's talking about, but it sounded good. But I remember it. See, when I got the Bible, who killed with a kiss? You'll know the one because the one I kiss is the one you arrest. I didn't know that. And I was raised in Christianity. How about y'all? Okay. We need to go back to the source. We need to get to the source ourselves. That's why it's nice to have this Bible study center where you can study if you want to. Don't anybody have a... Yes, sir.
So when Jesus fed these 4,000 and again he fed another 5,000, did he not pray for the food before they partake?
That's so good. We didn't do it. Yes, dear brother. That's exactly right. And that's the beautiful thing. And by the way, when they tell that story, they always talk about what? That he did pray for the food. And then it was right.
Yeah, because I read this.
Yeah, we didn't preach. Yeah, no Thanksgiving. You know one of the reasons? We are open this to everybody. Someone may feel a little awkward if we started in with it. Let's have a song, let's have a prayer. Some people may feel awkward. So that's why this is kept a little bit secular in its presentation. Because I understand it, that's why. But for me, I do always. I always pray for my food. And you know, some people, I had a man I worked with, a young minister who was working with the youth, and he didn't like for us to pray in public. And I said, no. If they can curse at their table, we can pray at our table. It doesn't matter. We have the right to do that. Thank you. Anybody else?
Can I elaborate that, sir? That particular case. You know, when I pray, I do not pray from time to time. Maybe once a month or once a year. I get inside my room and pray to God. But very simple, very short. And I strongly believe that my words and my spirit is connected to God.
When we get into the question of prayer, it's a good thing. It's a very good and deep discussion. Now, I don't cross myself, but I don't care if you do. If that's you, if it's sincere, that's your business. You want to kneel, that's your business. You want to stand up, that's your business. Whatever in our culture shows. I can't tell you how to pray. I can tell you, we can look here and find many things about prayer. But personally, I've made a practice in my life to never tell somebody I'm going to pray for them unless I pray for them. And it's very wonderful to be able to think about them, usually just before you go to sleep. And all over the world, people's face comes before you. And then you see them and you find great and good things happen or strength come on. But I think we have to be people of prayer. Now, you never grow beyond it. How do I know that? I talked to you about this. I mentioned this. As you come to if you got the Christian armor in Ephesians, and Paul says after he talks about the armor, and also what? Pray. And pray for us also. But wait a minute, Paul, you're the teacher. You're the big spiritual man. You pray for me also. And in the Colossian letters, you pray for me also. And you can summarize the things he said. Well, what do you want, Paul? Well, you pray to God to give me a message. Give me a message. If you're going to teach others, you've got to give me a message. Give me courage so I can open my mouth. Give me skill as I speak. And then give me an opportunity to speak. Now, if God would answer our prayer for any teacher by giving him the message, giving him the courage, giving him the skill, and giving him the audience, they would be a success for God. But this man who is, this is while he's in prison. He's been establishing churches for 30 years. He's in Roman prison while he writes that. And yet he says, you pray for me and ask for these things. Well, you should be talking for Timothy. He's a young one. But this is the old man Paul. There's, and oh Lord, we talk about where's the Lord's Prayer? Where's the Lord's Prayer? The one we say, now lay me down to sleep. Oh, that's not it, is it? That's another one. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come. You know that one? Yeah, I grew up saying that. I can say it without a thought. But I can't say what he said in John 17 without a thought. We've been privileged to listen to Jesus talk to his own Father. So you're right, brother. It's very important to pray for everything. It's very important. And to pray. And if you got Social Security and you got insurance, why do you need God? That's America. We don't need God. Right? We're not hungry. We're fat. Right? That's not true. We need God. And if you are not communicating with God and praying to God, how do you know God's doing anything in your life? I always like to make impossible situations. If God said to you, you can give a new kind of Christian one of three things. You can let him do one of three things. You can let him read the Bible. You can let him pray. Or you can let him attend worship. Which one of these three would you give him? If you have to choose, which one would you give him? Prayer, Bible study, or fellowship with other Christians? Which would you give him? Now, are they all important? Did you miss it while you saw it? Of course you did. Which would you give him? Well, I would give them prayer. Because they're relating to God. If you're studying, you're reading about God, but you're relating to God. You're talking to God. But the nice thing is, you can have all three. That's the great thing. But see, that makes me think, which is important. You don't make rules for other people. Like, well, we shouldn't say a set prayer in church. You shouldn't read a prayer in church. Who told you that? Sincerity of heart, what counts. Let them talk to God. Other questions? John?
I have a question. One more.
Wait a minute.
This is just a curious question for you. Out of all of your years of studying the Bible and studying 2 Peter, was there ever a day that caused you to scratch your head and wonder why Peter did not mention the assembly on Sunday in his dying letter?
Very good. Why didn't Peter mention the assembly? Well, maybe because one of his greatest sermons was said on the first assembly of the church.
All right, I'll let you have that.
Will that do? Will that do? The first time there were 3,000 Christians, he was preaching.
But it seems like we spend a lot of our time talking about the Sunday assembly, yet in the Paul in the dying letter says nothing.
That's a beautiful topic. It might be good to have a seminar on that sometime. We had 2 seminars on that in the north. Returning, what we're doing, it seems, in our culture today is, the cross has 2 parts to it, doesn't it? There's a vertical and there's a horizontal. And it seems to me that in our assemblies, in many assemblies that you watch on television, you attend, there's an awful lot of emphasis on the horizontal. If we have a really good preacher, they will come. If we have a really nice building, they will come. If we have a really entertaining assembly, they will come. None of that is what Jesus said. He said, go bring them. Go bring them in. But much of our emphasis in, how do we sound? Was it maybe that does God like a walk when it cries? Call a walk here? Crows? A walk can sing and God likes it. Right? And we are worried so too much about how do we sound to one another? How do we look to one another? How do we appear to one another? And we're putting the emphasis upon those things. If you have a really dynamic preacher who can write books and do things like that and get on television, it'll draw the people to what? For us. But that's not what our worship is about, isn't it? It's not here. The prayers are directed not to one another, but to God. And we are to pray together. Amen, amen, amen. Correct? When we're singing, is the major emphasis in our singing upon one another or upon God? Now, I learned that big word serendipity, which means an unexpected blessing. And the serendipity of singing is that when I hear you sing, you encourage me. When we come together and we partake of the Lord's Supper, what does he say there? You're remembering Jesus till he comes. When we break the bread, we remember the body of Jesus till he comes, right? And when we drink the cup, listen, when we drink the cup, we do proclaim his death until he comes. But see, it's happening between me and him, but I can't do it without you getting a message. There's both parts to it, but the major emphasis is to him, correct? Okay. Then we take up a collection. What's that for? Is that just horizontal? No. You get in the Hebrew letter, the 13th chapter, and he talks to us about the priesthood of believers. And there is an offering wherewith God is pleased. The fruit of our lips is our sacrifice to God. And then to share with others is also a sacrifice well-pleasing unto God. And that's how you understand that when you give money to a fellowship, when you are together deciding to do something wonderful for God, like preach the gospel or whatever, you are there sharing with one another or with the poor. You're bringing thanksgiving to God. The 2 great things the church does to bring thanksgiving to God is preach the gospel and help the needy. And you can prove that from the 2 Corinthians letter, chapter 5. When this grace of hearing the gospel goes to others, it will abound unto thanksgiving unto God. Who wouldn't thank God that you become a Christian? That people loved you enough they sacrificed to come and preach to you. And who wouldn't thank God that you have listened to the gospel and have heard Jesus say it's more blessed to give than receive, and you share with others. So when he talked about those poor Macedonians and what they did in their poverty, what does it say? When you do this, that will abound unto thanksgiving by them. They will be thanking God for your obedience to the gospel. So they'll be thanking God for what they received and thanking God for you. So all this is what this is the assembly thing. Did I leave something out that we think about when we get together? And the beauty of it is, I like you when I get together. I like to joke with you. I like to shake your hand. I like to see the new babies. We get together and we talk about these things and we hear about the sicknesses and help the sick. And it's fellowship, mutual sharing. Mutual sharing. But the major emphasis is vertical, not horizontal. And in our world, we got books after books telling us how to emphasize the horizontal so we can have a big assembly. Why? Maybe because I get 10% of your money. I don't know why. I'm sorry. I'm very crude sometimes. Okay. Sir? Oh, boy. Are those all questions? There's no question. All right. One more question. My question. Did you get anything out of it? Yes. Okay, thank you. It's not well organized because I never am. Okay. We had a good time. I had a good time. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.